Hello. Welcome back to STM Narratives. Before we begin, please comment where you are watching from and the time. The first thing I felt each morning was the heavy silence pressing down on my chest, reminding me that I was alone in a world full of life. I had turned 31 last week, but instead of feeling excited, it felt like a sign of my slide into a dark hole of sadness. When my alarm went off, the noise felt overwhelming, quickly drowned out by the fog in my mind. Sunlight crept through the curtains, casting patterns on the walls of my small apartment, but all I could see was darkness. My name is Sarah, and for as long as I could remember, I had been a fighter. I was born to a loving mom and a dad who seemed to disappear and reappear like a broken light bulb. My mom worked long hours as a nurse to provide for us, and I often found comfort in books, losing myself in stories where heroes overcame great challenges. But as I reached my 30s, I realized I was no longer the hero in my story. I had become my own enemy, battling shadows that threatened to take me over. To everyone else, I looked successful. I had a stable job as a marketing manager at a good company, a close group of friends, and a cozy apartment that showed my personality. Artsy yet tidy, a mix of chaos and order. But inside, I was falling apart. The cheerful smiles I forced onto my face felt like a mask, hiding the truth of my struggles. I often met my friend Maya for coffee. She was full of energy, the kind of person who lit up a room. We had been friends since college, and she always encouraged me to embrace my creativity. One day, as we sat in our favorite cafe, I could see worry on her face. "Sarah, you've been so distant lately. Is everything okay?" she asked, her brow furrowing. "Of course," I replied too quickly, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. "Just busy with work, you know how it is." But the truth was far more complicated. The long hours at work had become a refuge, a place where I could drown out the chaos of my thoughts. I poured my heart into campaigns and deadlines, but when I returned home, the stillness wrapped around me like a suffocating blanket. I withdrew from the world, avoiding gatherings and declining invitations. I told Maya I was busy, that I needed to catch up on work, but the truth was that I was terrified. Terrified of being seen, of being judged. I couldn't bear the thought of someone asking, "Are you okay?" when I felt anything but. The few times I mustered the strength to join my friends, I felt like an imposter. I laughed at their jokes, but inside, I was screaming. One evening, I attended a birthday party for a colleague, surrounded by laughter and music. I forced myself to engage, but as the night wore on, I felt the familiar pang of isolation. I slipped out, the door clicking shut behind me as I stepped into the cool night air. It wasn't until one particularly harrowing night that I confronted my demons. I sat on my living room floor, surrounded by discarded takeout containers and unwashed laundry, the remnants of weeks of neglect. The silence was deafening, punctuated only by the sound of my own shallow breaths. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I grappled with the realization that I was spiraling. That's when I picked up my phone, fingers trembling as I searched for mental health resources. I stumbled across a helpline, and without thinking, I dialed the number. The voice on the other end was calm and understanding. "Hi, I'm here to listen," the woman said. "What's going on?" It was the first time I had shared my struggles with someone who didn't know me. I poured out my heart, recounting the feeling of being trapped, the exhaustion of wearing a mask, and the relentless weight of loneliness. With every word, I felt a little bit lighter. The next day, I took a leap of faith and scheduled an appointment with a therapist. Dr. Lawson was warm and inviting, her office adorned with calming colors and soft lighting. As I sat across from her, I felt a mix of apprehension and relief. "Tell me about your life," she prompted gently. I hesitated but then spoke about my childhood, the pressure I felt to succeed, and how my relationships had begun to unravel. I shared my fear of burdening others with my pain and how, in my 30s, I felt more lost than ever. "Depression can be insidious," she explained, "and it often thrives in silence. You're not alone in this fight." For the first time, I felt a flicker of hope. I realized that admitting I needed help was a crucial step in my journey. Dr. Lawson guided me through coping strategies, encouraging me to express my feelings instead of bottling them up. Over the next few months, I embraced therapy as a vital part of my routine. I began journaling, pouring my thoughts onto the pages in a raw and unfiltered manner. I found solace in the written word, a way to articulate the turmoil brewing within. The act of writing became a form of catharsis, a release for the emotions I had stifled for so long. With Dr. Lawson's guidance, I also began to confront the small aspects of my life that had contributed to my mental state. I set small goals for myself, getting out of bed at a reasonable hour, going for walks in the fresh air, and slowly re-engaging with my friends. Each step felt monumental, a battle won against the inertia that had paralyzed me. I reached out to Maya again, asking if she wanted to join me for a walk. When we met, the sun shone brightly, and the fresh air felt invigorating. "I've missed you," she admitted, her eyes shining with concern. "I was worried. I've been struggling," I confessed, my voice trembling, "but I'm trying to get better." Maya listened, her presence comforting as I shared my journey. It felt liberating to speak openly, shedding the layers of silence that had weighed me down. As I navigated my healing journey, I began to embrace vulnerability. I learned that sharing my experiences didn't make me weak. Rather, it connected me with others who were facing their own battles. I found strength in community, attending support groups where individuals shared their stories of struggle and resilience. One evening, I met a woman named Lisa who shared her own story of grappling with depression. We bonded over our experiences, laughing and crying together as we navigated the complexities of our mental health journeys. "I used to think I was alone in this," she said, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "But now I know that we're all fighting our own battles." Her words resonated deeply within me, and I realized that by sharing our stories, we could help each other heal. The weight of isolation began to lift as I forged connections with others who understood the struggles I faced. With time, I started to reclaim my life. I set boundaries at work, prioritizing my mental health over the relentless pursuit of success. I learned to say no, to create space for myself without guilt. My friends rallied around me, supporting my journey and reminding me that I wasn't a burden. I was a warrior. On my 32nd birthday, I decided to celebrate differently. Instead of a grand party, I invited a few close friends over for a simple dinner. We shared laughter, stories, and a sense of camaraderie that felt grounding. As we raised our glasses for a toast, I felt a surge of gratitude. I was no longer battling alone. I had allies who understood my journey and stood by me. As we raised our glasses for a toast, I felt a surge of gratitude. I was no longer battling alone. I had allies who understood my journey and stood by me. "Here's to embracing our vulnerabilities and celebrating our strengths," I said, a smile breaking through the remnants of my past struggles. While I had made significant progress, I knew that recovery was an ongoing journey. There were still days when the darkness crept in, when I struggled to find motivation or felt overwhelmed by the weight of the world. But now, I had tools to combat those feelings. I leaned on my support system, continued therapy, and practiced self-compassion. I started volunteering at a local community center, sharing my story to help others who felt isolated in their struggles. Each time I connected with someone who needed support, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. It was in these moments that I understood the power of vulnerability and the strength that came from sharing my experiences. As I reflect on my journey, I realize that my 30s have been transformative. I've learned that it's okay to struggle, that asking for help is a sign of strength, and that vulnerability can be a bridge to deeper connections. I've discovered a newfound appreciation for the beauty of life, even amidst the chaos. Though I still carry the scars of my battle with depression, I no longer see them as reminders of weakness. They are symbols of resilience, a testament to the strength it takes to rise from the depths of despair. I've come to understand that healing is not linear, and that's perfectly okay. With each passing day, I choose to embrace life, to seek joy in the little things. The silence that once suffocated me has transformed into a space for reflection and growth. I am Sarah, not just a survivor but a warrior, and my journey is far from over. As I step into the future, I carry with me the lessons learned in the shadows. I stand taller, knowing that even in the darkest moments, there is always a glimmer of hope waiting to be found.